All right, we're starting out laying down so we can really let the spine kind of relax and lengthen into the mat. So close your eyes, come on down. Find some nice big breath. And I want to invite you to bend your knees in any kind of way, bend your elbows so that you feel most comfortable. You feel most expansive on the inhale, lungs, belly, all puffing open toward the ceiling or the sky. If you, like me, are just under the sky right now. And with your exhales, wrap everything back in toward the center. Think your belly button trying to anchor itself down to the mat. And as a matter of fact, you may feel your low back actually get a little lower to the mat as you do that. And that's okay. Just allow that little natural rhythm to happen. Big, expansive inhale. Strong inward moving exhale. Keep breathing like this. Find that with each inhale, you get a little bit longer in your spine. Maybe having to adjust yourself as time goes on. With each exhale, you can relax a little more, letting go. First, just beginning by noticing the places where you're holding tension. There could be so many that it's almost dazzling, or one could really stand out. A little more relaxed with each exhale. Allow the jaw to hang slack, kind of fall open. Forehead is soft. Maybe go for here like a 6 or 7 count inhale and exhale. So 6 for the inhale, 6 for the exhale, that kind of thing. For these next few breaths, let's experiment with a really full kind of maximum breath by inhaling to your maximum and then maybe even pausing up top to sip in a little more. And then exhale completely. Maybe pause at the bottom. Press out a little more. Truly draw the belly button down, down, down into the floor. Maybe a couple more rounds, just like that. Just playing with, kind of surfing with your breath. One more. All right, and feel free to experiment with that breath throughout your practice, anytime you feel overwhelmed in your life off the mat too. It's a great breath. Notice how you feel. All right, let's start to move a little bit. Let's reach out long through fingers and toes. Take a really nice stretch. Okay, hopefully becoming aware of the back of the body, having relaxed a lot more into the floor while we relaxed and breathed. Let's think about reaching out a little further through the right hand and foot. So actively lengthening just the right side of your body, maybe even a little contraction in the left side, okay? Breathe here, wrap the belly button down. Should feel good. Let's go through center and to the other side. So reaching out a little bit more through the left hand and foot. Maybe contracting a little in the right side body, the obliques working, the core working as the belly button draws down and in. And then one more time back through center. Feels nice. Take one more big breath in here. And with your exhale, draw your knees in. Hands come to your shins. Move your forehead towards your knees, just as close as you naturally want to go. Could you keep your low back grounded? And inhale, reach out long. You might bend your knees a little bit to keep the low back grounded. Exhale, pull it in. Can we keep going like this? Inhale to be long. Exhale, pull it in. Maybe a handful of times. If you want a little extra challenge, don't come down to the floor with your hands and feet when you lengthen. Just hover. And maybe pull in a little closer. 2 more times. Feel your core waking up. 1 more. And hold and breathe right here. If this hurts your neck in any way, of course, take a break. But if everything's going great, maybe grab for your feet, squeeze a little closer, shoulders low on the back. Maybe 1 more big breath here. And let it go. All right, drop your feet, headed to a bridge posture. So hands down by your hips. Your nose can point straight up at the ceiling so that the back of your neck remains softly arched up off the floor. So soft arch behind your neck. Inhale here, hips come up. Exhale here, hips come down. Nice and simple. Okay? So keep going, keep breathing. And doing this. And let's add some considerations. So for your consideration, remember that neck is long, so there's always a grapefruit of space between your chin and your chest. And let's put a little engagement between the knees. So we're going to think of this idea of the knees drawing together, although space remains between them, like you're holding a ball between your knees. So you'll feel this engages your core, and it allows you to control this movement a little more. So with that core control, let's add in a little more spinal flexibility by beginning to intentionally roll the spine up and down, as if you could do 1 vertebra at a time up, and 1 vertebra at a time down. Take a few more rounds like that. Keep the neutrality of the back of your neck, please. And keep your tennis ball or your baseball between your knees. Okay. The next time you come up, let's just hold and just breathe right there. Hold and breathe. Knees moving in. You still got your ball between your knees. Think of the tailbone trying to move away from the top of your head, like you're trying to bring your tailbone closer to your knees. I want to feel your glutes turn on here. Good morning, glutes. Let's press the hands, the elbows, and the shoulder blades into the floor, and maybe even the back of your head presses down a little bit. So I want you to feel some really nice expansion across the whole front of your body, from your shoulders down to your kneecaps. And if you want to deepen that opening in your shoulders, try taking your hands together underneath you, maybe interlacing your fingers. And then you can actively scooch your shoulder blades underneath your big, big chest. It feels nice in your anterior deltoid in the front of your shoulder. If you really want to get your legs warm here, if you want to get nice and stretchy today, we need to get warm first, of course. So how about this? Added to all of the things we've just talked about, try to pull your heels towards your shoulder blades. So you're really engaging your hamstrings. You're really engaging your glutes. Keep breathing. Keep everything else. Nose pointed up, arms pressed down. 3 more breaths. 2 more breaths. Did you lose the ball between your knees? I did. I lost mine. Got to grab it again. 1 more breath. Release your hands if they were joined. Roll yourself all the way down. Okay, if we walk our feet out a little wider, after really working the glutes the way we just did, we can massage them on the floor a little bit by dropping knees side to side. Windshield wipers. All right, maybe getting some crackles and pops from the low back. All right, as you're ready, we'll release that left leg long on the mat. We'll get the right leg up in the air. So we're about to really open up this right hip. If it gets tired, you can always take a break by dropping that knee back in towards you and just holding on to your thigh, okay? You can just rest in that way, but take your arms out wide so that you'll be able to kind of bolster yourself against the floor as we start to really move. Let's get the right leg up in the air. And we'll point the toe. Always feel free to put a bend in it if this is too much, okay? Find a spot on the ceiling above your right toe, just above your hip. Hip, toe, spot on the ceiling. And using your big, strong hip, let's draw circles around that little dot with your toe. So the ankle is not moving, it's just along for the ride. So it's not actually moving itself. The knee also just along for the ride. Hip is moving everything. Let's make the circles bigger. Okay, maybe slow them down as they get bigger. Because notice, as they get bigger, it's harder to make the circles perfect. And that's okay, just work with that. Notice where it's harder, probably at the top end of the circle. So I want you to work a little harder to make that circle perfect up there. Let's make the circles bigger. Now, the right glute is naturally going to roll up off the floor when you swing your circle over to the left. So let that happen. Let that big hip rotation happen. It's kind of what we're going for. The circles are really ridiculously big now, so I want to encourage you to take up a lot of space and use all of the hip that you have. Maybe 2 more times in this direction. Should feel nice. And then let's reverse. Please keep it big and slow, but maybe push through the heel. Little different action in your leg. Keep it big and slow. Keep that twist when you swing the leg out to the left. And let's start to spiral it inward. Take your time. Okay, finding that point on the ceiling. Circle around that point. Spiral it inward. 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 And let's let this go. Go ahead and take your hands behind the shin. Move that knee in towards your chest. Go ahead and ground your shoulder blades. And then if you want a little more here, you can move your hands to the shin, to the right shin. Go ahead and move the knee as if you're trying to put it on your heart. So probably won't get there, okay? But if it would, what direction would it be moving? Just do that. Notice anything about your right inner and outer hip. Just notice that. Imagine breathing into and out of the places that are tense in that hip. And then let's move the right knee away from the midline of the body over to your right armpit. And as if you really could get it in your armpit, maybe even use your forearms to hug it nice and close. But try to ground those shoulder blades if you can. All right, releasing from that, let's really get into that right hamstring. If you get your fingers interlaced behind that right thigh, you can press the heel up to the ceiling and then pull the heel back in towards your glutes. And again, press it up. Pull it in. So you feel underneath your right hand, you feel your right hamstring. You feel it getting tense when you extend, and it softens when you flex the knee. All right, so find a really nice extension, a pleasant lengthening of your hamstring as you press up through the heel, and let's hold right there. Just enjoy it. Remember to ground your shoulder blades, please. Sometimes that's one of the first things to go. Keep a nice flex in your right ankle. So really pull the right toes in towards your knee, and you'll get a really great calf stretch. And for an even deeper calf stretch, you can press that heel a millimeter higher. Nice breath here. Maybe even encouraging the knee a little closer. So you can make this really gentle, or you can make it really deep. You decide. Maybe one more breath here with this yummy stretch, calf and hamstring, hip. And then let that go. Okay. We'll take it to a figure 4 from here. So you can release your right leg, stack the right ankle on the left knee, which you have now pulled up and in. And you have your little figure 4. And this is quite enough for a lot of us. So if you feel like just pressing your right knee away is enough, right here, then stay. Okay, remember that the right knee is all on its own. We're not actually pushing it with our hands. We're using the right outer hip to move the right knee away. So just be aware of that one. If you want more from this, you can move a little more deeply by picking up that that's a left. Picking up that left leg, putting your hands behind the left thigh. Okay, now remember, we're not touching the right leg. It's tempting to help it, but the right leg is on its own today, using that right outer hip to move the right knee away, using your strong arms to pull the left knee close. So you're working against yourself here. Nice stretch for that right hip though. Low back, ground the shoulder blades. Then as you're ready, friends, whatever variation of that figure 4 you took, ground your feet and just shake it out. Let it go. Hopefully you notice a difference between the right and left sides, the hips, the hamstrings, low back. And let's do the left side. The right leg will be out long now. Just resting, enjoying all the work we did. As a matter of fact, if you put your hand on your right hip, you might feel it's a little warmer than your left. Okay, left leg is up. Point the left big toe. So find a spot on the ceiling right above your hip. Hands are out for stability. Tiny circles. Okay. Now I have a tendency to get excited and go really fast when I start my circles. So I have to purposely slow myself down, and you might experience the same thing. We want control. I try to think of not using any momentum at all. 100% control from your strong hip and your strong core pulling down. Bigger. Still very circular. Work extra hard to get it nice at the top. Okay, beginning to add in that little twist when we send the leg out to the right. It just becomes a little twist as the left glute peels up. Embrace that. Okay, they're pretty big now. Let's reverse that. Use all of the hip. Push through the heel. Maybe if you got excited and went fast, go slow. Let's start circling back inward. Take your time. Okay, working on making them very circly again now that they're smaller. And finishing it out with some very lovely, perfect circles. And then let's pull that knee in. You can take hands behind your left thigh. Encourage that knee toward your heart. Okay, maybe the shin works well. Shoulder blades ground. Breathe. Where in your left hip do you feel this? Okay, move the knee away from the midline now to your left armpit. Maybe your forearms would be useful here to grab that shin or thigh, but try to ground your shoulder blades. Find that breath. All right, let that go. And now we're sending the leg up in the air. So you can take your hands back behind the thigh if they were elsewhere. Press the heel to the ceiling and then move it towards your glute. Press it up. Move it in. Keep it going. A few more times. Get to know your hamstring here. Feel it under your hands. Your life partner, your hamstring. Okay, find a very pleasant, comfortable lengthening in your hamstring and hold right there. Make sure it feels good. We don't ever want to push a hamstring and make it uncomfortable. It's just not worth it, okay? So also get your calf stretch here. Flex those left toes back for the shin. Push through the heel even more and maybe encourage the kneecap closer. Shoulder blades. And breath. Maybe one more breath here. And let it all go. Let's transition to a figure four. So we'll need the right leg's help here. Left ankle can stack on the right knee, and we let the leg go. The left leg is all on its own for now. Beginning to really open up that left inner hip. Okay. Use the muscles in your left outer hip. You can put your hand kind of on near your glute, like the side of your glute, and feel the left outer hip working. So its partner, the inner hip, has to relax when the outer hip is working. They're reciprocal inhibitors. They're antagonists. So you can use that relationship to your advantage in the hips. Okay, if we want to move more deeply here, we can by picking the right knee up. Okay, your hands are only on the right leg as they pull the right knee close. The left knee is still moving away with the help of the left outer hip. Ground the shoulder blades and breathe. Should feel nice. All right, my friends, let this go. All feet down. Let's take some windshield wipers. All right, as you're ready, rock your hand or tuck your hands behind your knees and rock yourself up and down. Let's do it a few times. Feels nice on your back. Next time you come up, see if you can float and just balance. Try it a few times. If it doesn't work the first time, no problem. Let's just breathe here, okay? In a boat pose. Long spine. Could you make it even longer than it has ever been before? Belly button moves inward. Your core is active. Your tailbone is slightly tucking and pointing at your toes. And if you could, let go of your knees. Reach your toes out. So think of a line of energy shooting from your hip bones out through your big toes. Shoulder blades roll down the back. One more big breath in. And let it go. We'll transition to hands and knees now. So if you just point your toes or your knees out to one side, I'll meet you on hands and knees. Let's take a few cat-cows just to kind of reset the spine. So long inhales as you pull your heart forward, lifting your belly button. And big exhales as you push the floor away. Take a few more breaths just like this. Arched spine, inhale. Rounded spine, exhale. Keep going just like that. I'm getting a little bit hot. Okay. So roll sideways into these as well, please. Okay, getting some nice openings between the ribs and stretching that big muscle of your back, your big latissimus dorsi that stretches all across your back. And then find a nice flat back here. Let's take the right foot by the right hand. And we'll move the left knee maybe back a little bit and start to rock the hips forward and back. Now we've already opened up our hamstrings and so you've been moving your hips back and forth here. You're feeling kind of open in your hamstrings. So let's kind of settle in to this lunge. You can untuck the back toes and start to engage your feet, your legs toward each other. So of course, in all of our lunges and all of our standing postures and a lot of our seated postures, we're always concerned with that drawing together toward the midline. So do that right now. And then you can use the right leg to press on up. And we'll just breathe here in this nice lunge. If you need support, you can use your fingers interlaced to press down on the right thigh and use it that way. If you need any adjustments with the back knee, you can move it forward to make it more gentle. Okay? But let's breathe here. And I want to offer you even further stretch. If you want to, you can take the left hand up and move it a little bit over to the right. Helpful to hold your right hip with your right hand if you want. Continue to draw the belly button in. Continue to move the knees toward the midline so that the legs aren't just clocked off here. They're super clocked on. If you want an even further stretch, you can take your right fingers to the ground on the right and continue to reach that left hand overhead. Great stretch here. So continue to have the legs active. Breathe. One more big breath in here. And we'll come on out of it. So all hands down under your shoulders here. And we'll start to just sink into this lunge and get really nice and stretchy. So if you want to just put a little bend in your elbows here, just so they're not locked. Close your eyes. And just let your head hang. Take some deep breaths. And then maybe once you've been here for a moment, settled in a little bit, then you start to kind of refine. So we might change something about the neck. Maybe we need to move the shoulders away from the ears because we want that long neck, of course. You might want to point the toes of the right foot slightly out to the side and even waggle the right knee away from you. You might want to come down to 1 or 2 elbows. So take a few more breaths here, please, allowing gravity to just pull you down. Maybe take a breath here to make sure your hips are level with the mat. Sometimes the left hip will get really low, and we need to move the hips a little to the right so that that can level out. As you are ready, we'll come up out of this. We'll come on up to your hands, and we'll take it to a pigeon pose. So we just need to walk the right foot over to the left. We're probably going to need to move the right arm out of the way to do that. And drop the right knee. So here we are in our pigeon. So take a little time to fidget. If it's too much, you can make it more gentle by moving the right foot closer to your hips. Almost kind of sitting your left hip on it might work somehow. But if it's really not good, and it doesn't help just to come down to your elbows, you can flip on your back and do a figure 4. Remember that figure 4 we just did, okay? Instead. So if pigeon is going great for you, try to stay upright. Maybe the elbows are more appropriate, but maybe the hands are okay, right? Breathe here. And then let's think of having some activity in the legs. So the legs are not just sleeping here. There's at least 5 to 10% activity, and you're pushing the floor away from you. So the right leg is actively pushing down into the mat. The left leg is actively firming inward toward the hip, so the top of the foot presses down. So you feel that activity. And think of rocking the hips so they're level with the mat. I like to stay upright in pigeon for a few breaths before we come all the way down. Okay, really allows the hips to sink more firmly into the mat. So once you've gotten a little bit more comfortable here, then start to walk hands out. Maybe you stop on your elbows and hang your head for a little while. Or maybe the head comes all the way down, who knows? But try to keep that left hip turning to face the floor, please. And keep that activity in your legs. Just a little something, doesn't have to be crazy. As you are ready, walk your hands back up underneath your shoulders if you were in pigeon. If you were in a figure four, go ahead and rock it back up to a seat, and we'll all meet back on hands and knees. All right, let's take a little down dog moment here. Tuck your toes, press your hips back, find your down dog. You can keep a nice bend in the knees, of course. Roll your shoulders. You're getting a nice shoulder opener here by pulling those elbows in toward each other and actively moving the shoulder blades away from each other and down the back. Let's take 5 or 6 more breaths here. You can continue to work out the backs of the legs, just working out all that lactic acid from what we've been doing. And then as you're ready, bring it back down to hands and knees. Let's get the left foot forward by the left hand. And we can move the right knee back a little bit. And we'll start to rock it back and forth. Okay, I'm gonna do this for a little while. One option that I want to give you is that if you want a little more from this, especially in the left hamstring, okay, the left calf and hamstring, put a really nice flex in your left foot and then tuck the right toes and lift the right knee so you can get more movement out of the back of that left leg. So that's a nice option. But knee down in the back is also good. And then as you're ready, sink back down into that lunge. And we'll just hang out here and just kind of allow gravity to take over. Keep a little activity in your legs, please. Okay, maybe 5 to 10%. Maybe let your head hang. Shake it out. Remember to keep the shoulders away from the ears. And let's make sure we have at least a little bend in the elbows. Maybe 1 comes down. Maybe 2 come down. And we can also adjust the left foot, pointing it to the left and even walking it out so that the knee kind of falls out. Okay, check out the hips. Trying to get the right hip level with the left. This is a nice posture to just from your lunge that we were just in, we're headed to a pigeon pose. So if you came down to your elbows, come back up on your hands. And let's walk this left foot over to the right. We need to drop the left knee. And try out your pigeon. If it's not working on this side, you can flip to your back. You can do the figure 4 on this side. The left knee will be the closer one to you. Okay? But if the pigeon is okay, maybe walk your hands out, but try to stay at least up off the ground for a little while in pigeon. It just helps to relax the hips a little more. Give a little bit of resistance to the floor with that left leg, pushing down a little bit. And the top of the left foot pushing down a little bit. So, the right foot is strongly pushing down. So the right leg is long and strong. Okay, and I think it's nice to spend about 30 seconds upright in pigeon before you even come down. It's nice to twist a little bit here, kind of fidget. And then when you feel like your hips have sunk down a little bit more, then come all the way down. Maybe pausing on your elbows. Remember to keep the neck long. Eventually walking all the way down. Find some big breaths in and out here. And as you're ready, we'll start to bring it up and out. Take your time coming out. And then we'll all meet in hands and knees. So no rush. Sometimes you want to take a little extra time getting out of a pigeon or a figure 4. And then from hands and knees, take it up to a down dog. Let's notice the backs of the legs here. Okay, as the heels paddle out, as you kind of let go of all that movement, notice how each calf and hamstring, glute, the whole back of the body, see if you can notice a little extra space back there. And as you're ready, bring your knees forward and then drop them, take them a little bit wide. So we're back down to hands and knees, but the knees are a bit wide. We're installing hips over knees here, and we'll take a puppy pose, okay? Or open heart pose. So walk your hands out, come up on your fingertips. So fingertips out, hips are still over knees. I want you to lift your palms and think of spinning your elbows out away from each other. So how would that even feel if your elbows were kind of pointed out? And then could you think about dropping your chest toward the floor? As you do that, lift your belly button in towards your spine. So almost like you're trying to keep the low back from curving too much, which is exactly what you're doing. So use your low back strength, pull that belly button in, allow the extension to happen instead in your upper spine. So let that heart fall. Breathe here. You might even think of looking at your hands and having an extremely long neck, and use your fingers to actively push the floor. This could be a really gentle posture or a really strong and open posture, and I just want you to make it your own. You can always just take it easy by dropping your elbows and putting your forehead down. Okay, but this is just such a great chest and shoulder and armpit stretch. I just really love it. Maybe a couple more big breaths here. Could you make your armpits and your chest even bigger and lower? One more big breath. Wrap that belly button in. And let's let it go, okay? If you drop your elbows and walk them all the way back, then you'll be in a really nice wide. So we found ourselves in a nice wide leg child's pose. Take a moment just to be here. Feel all the warmth and sensation from your practice swirling around. Notice every little sound around you. And then as you're ready, come on up to a seat. We'll bring our knees together and find yourself in a nice seated place on the mat. Come out long ways, just like you're about to lay down. Long ways on your mat. And we'll just add a little twist here. So with both your legs out long, put a nice flex in your feet and get your spine nice and long. And fingers down beside you. Take a big breath in here. With your long spine, exhale and move your heart forward. You can think of tiptoeing or finger-tipping your fingertips forward until you feel like your spine is starting to round. And then come back up. Inhale here, back up to a seat, long spine. Exhale, heart moves forward, fingertips. One more just like that, big breath in. Okay, think of pointing your tailbone behind you as you move your heart forward. And let's hold right here. You might have your hands under your shoulders, maybe your elbows under your shoulders, but please promise me you won't try to grab and pull anything. That's not what we're doing here. We want intrinsic fold. This is your intrinsic fold. Now, isn't that nice that you know that? One more big breath in here. And let's bring it on up. Let's bring the right foot with us. Pull it in. Plant it by your hips. And we'll use both arms just to hold this right knee close for a little while. Okay. Trying to move it towards your heart. We need an extra long spine to do this, so make sure to ground especially heavily in that right hip, like you're trying to really push down into the floor. And then maybe eventually your left arm can just do it on its own. The right fingers can come behind you and add a little length to your spine with the right fingers pressing down. Long spine inhale. Twist from your belly button on the exhale. All right, so find a 1 or 2 more long, slow breaths here, please. Maybe for your last breath, you tuck the left elbow on the outside of the right knee. Move a little more deeply. As you're ready, we'll spin ourselves out of this. Let's drop the right knee to the floor, right hand on the floor, left foot on the floor. Press it up to a supported side plank. So you might need to move your right knee so that it's more under your right hip. So when you look at the right knee, it's in line with the left foot and the right hand. And take your time here, reaching out long through the left side. Really big left side stretch here. If you really ground into the outer edge of your left foot and peel your arch up, it'll feel great on your ankle. And if you really send the left fingertips toward the floor, you open up that whole side body, okay? The IT band up through the glute, the low back, the rib cage, the latissimus dorsi, everything. As you're ready, spiral yourself back down to a seat and take the legs out long again. Just like we did before, maybe you can notice something different this time, or maybe not. Long spine, fingertips by your hips, flexed ankles. With your exhale, heart moves forward, tailbone moves back. Maybe fingertips. 2 more times just like that. Big breath in. And lean forward on your exhale. Try to keep your spine so ridiculously long. 1 more. Let's hold this one, okay? Maybe palms or elbows are down, but do support your upper body in some way. Try not to hang, and especially don't bounce, please. We don't want to bounce while we're flexing the spine like this. Lengthen your neck, let your head hang. Relax your jaw. One more breath here. Go ahead and roll yourself up and out. Let's take the left foot with us. Plant it by your hips. Both arms can hold the left leg for a little while, just getting used to that feeling of pulling it in by your chest. And we try to get the spine long, even though that feels weird while we're holding something so close. And then maybe the right arm can handle it after a while, and the left fingertips come behind. Boost your spine a little longer. Twist from your belly button with each exhale. Long spine with each inhale. Maybe one more breath, just like this. Feeling those ribs spreading apart. Maybe using that right elbow on the outside of the left knee for this last bit here. Let's come out of that. All right, all the feet forward. Shake it out a little bit, and then let's make a diamond shape out of the legs. So put the soles of your feet together, and you can bring them as close as you like, but just keep in mind that the closer you bring it, the more limited you'll feel and the more pressure on your knees. So just to be most gentle, you might just make a nice square diamond with your legs rather than a skinny diamond. And then we can have ankles, hands grabbing ankles, but not pulling, please. Just think of resting them there just to give them a place. And the elbows move toward the knees. Again, not pressing, just resting. And we have our long spine here. And we have the heart moving forward with each exhale. So we're thinking of folding down into this. Long spine, inhale. Heart forward, exhale. Try to keep a long neck. Your hands might just naturally come forward here. Just let that happen. You're feeling the low back kind of spreading open, glutes spreading open. And if you get your feet in just the right spot, sometimes you can rest your forehead in them. As you're ready, roll it on up. And then all the way down to the mat. We're coming down to rest. So come on down to rest. Find that most blissful posture that feels nice. If your low back feels tense, try bending your knees and kind of knocking them together. If your chest feels tense, bend your elbows and take your hands out to the sides. Nice breath here. Find that your jaw can hang slack. Effortless breath comes through your nose. Your face is softer and softer with each breath. And take a little time just being really present with all the sensations that your practice stirred up in your body. Notice any place that still feels tense, and allow that to release. Watch your thoughts and emotions here. Noticing them the same way you would notice anything else about your body. Try to look with compassion. And spend some time just being present with yourself. Just take this time. Please keep resting as long as you can, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you feel great.